My family kicked me out on New Year's Eve. You're not part of us anymore, my dad said. I smiled. Fair enough. Then I pulled out a sealed envelope and shredded it right there. When they saw the cancelled bank draft for the house renovation, chairs scraped back and everyone started shouting. But then I've never been the kind of person who makes a scene, but that night I decided I wasn't going to swallow anything anymore. It was New Year's Eve and my parents were throwing one of their usual forced smile family dinners. The kind they guilt you into attending with phrases like "we're still your parents and don't embarrass us in front of everyone." My sister Rachel and I showed up late and not by accident. He knew why. We parked 2 blocks away so we'd have a longer walk to talk things through. I was nervous but not unsure. I was done letting them pull strings. The house was packed. My aunts were laughing too loud, my cousins glued to their phones, and the whole place smelled like overcooked ham and cheap perfume. My mom barely looked at me when she opened the door. My dad didn't say hello. He just gave me that tight-jawed expression he always wore when he thought he had the moral high ground. We made it about 20 minutes before he decided to put on a show. We were all seated mid-toast and he just said it with a smugness like he was delivering a righteous verdict. You're not part of us anymore. There was a pause. Everyone went still. I smiled. Fair enough. I pulled out the envelope I'd kept in my coat pocket all evening. Thick paper. Official looking. And slowly, right in front of them, I tore it to pieces. No warning. No explanation. Just slow, deliberate shredding. I let the pieces flutter to the floor like snow. Silence dropped hard. That envelope held a certified bank draft for $6,000. The exact amount they'd asked me for a few weeks ago. Supposedly for finishing their kitchen renovation. Their dream space, as they called it. I had agreed reluctantly. I'd even gone to the bank the same day and arranged everything. I was going to mail it, but something told me to wait. A day later, Rachel showed me the texts. Screenshots. Dozens of them. My mom joking with my aunt about how I'd always cave, how I owed them, how they knew just what to say to get what they wanted. My dad saying I'd never stand up to them because I was still trying to earn their love. They'd mocked me. Planned it. So I went to the bank and canceled the draft. I kept the cancellation receipt. I had it printed and sealed in that envelope. It was for them. Not to explain, just to show. That's when the yelling started. My mom jumped up first, demanding to know what I'd done. My dad was already blaming Rachel, saying she turned me against them. My uncle started lecturing us about respect. One cousin tried to pull me aside to calm me down like I was the problem. I didn't say much. This is only the beginning. And I meant every word. Rachel and I left. No goodbyes. No fake hugs. Just the 2 of us stepping out into the freezing night while people inside scrambled to figure out what the hell just happened. What they didn't know, yet, was that for the past year I'd been secretly paying off part of a loan they couldn't handle. Their names were on it, but the monthly payments came from me. Quietly. Stupidly. Because I thought maybe they'd eventually see me as something more than a source of money. That ended the moment I tore that envelope. They'd find out soon, probably from their bank. And when they did, they'd be on their own. No more silent lifelines. No more pretending to be the good daughter just to keep the peace. Let them figure out what pride tastes like when the bills start stacking up. And the funny part? That beautiful kitchen they wanted so badly. The one they thought would finally impress the neighbors and make them feel like royalty? It was now just an empty promise wrapped in debt. By January 3rd, the silence started to crack. It began with a text from my mom. Just a simple line. Hey honey, hope you're okay. Call when you can. I didn't answer. Neither did Rachel. They waited 2 days, then sent another one, this time from my dad. Not sure what's going on with the bank, but something's off with the loan. That one made me smile. So they finally saw it. I had pulled my payments the morning of January 1st. After checking one last time that the account had my name nowhere permanent. The moment I knew they'd be fully liable, I pulled the plug. No more silent deposits. No more emergency money transfers. No more acting like it was just a temporary thing. They thought the loan would quietly handle itself. It always had. That first missed payment triggered an automatic notice. They owed more than they could cover, especially with how much they'd funneled into half-finishing the kitchen. I knew their financial reality better than they did. They were stretched thin, pretending to live a life they couldn't afford, and I had been their cushion. Not anymore. That's when the calls started. I got 2 voicemails that first week. The first was calm, pretending it was all a misunderstanding. The second was not. My dad's voice was sharp, scattered. He blamed me. Accused me of doing this out of spite. I saved it. I saved everything in case I ever needed proof of how quickly they could flip the story. And just like I expected, they started turning the story around for others. By January 7th, Rachel got a call from Aunt Marianne. Your mom says you and Jade have gone cold. That she doesn't know why. He's worried sick. Rachel didn't bother explaining. She just told her to give it time. Aunt Marianne wasn't stupid. She'd loaned our parents money 2 years ago and never saw a dime back. They'd promised to repay her after the tax refund. The refund came. The repayment didn't. Then came the louder moves. Our cousin Julie worked at a bank downtown and told us she saw our dad come in looking frantic, trying to negotiate some kind of emergency extension. She didn't talk to him directly, but she heard enough. He said he'd been sabotaged. Rachel and I just waited. No responses. No explanations. We wanted to see how far they'd go. And then it crossed the line. Rachel's boss pulled her into a private meeting on a Thursday morning and asked if everything was okay at home. He looked uncomfortable. He told her someone had emailed the company claiming to be a concerned parent, warning that Rachel was unstable, easily manipulated, and might be a risk at work. The email included just enough detail to seem legitimate. Old addresses, her middle name, even a past school. She forwarded me the email. It came from one of our dad's old Gmail accounts. Still active. Still used. Still signed off with his name by accident at the bottom of the thread. That's when the anger shifted into something else. Something clearer. This wasn't just about money anymore. They were trying to damage us. Punish us. Destroy reputations if it meant pulling us back in. They tried to paint us as villains. And when that didn't work, they aimed lower. I scheduled a legal consult the next day. Not to sue. Not yet. But to understand what counted as harassment. To make sure if they pushed harder, I could push back harder. And while I was sitting across from the lawyer reviewing records and emails, I asked something I hadn't planned to. I asked if there was a way to reclaim a personal loan I'd given them almost 2 years ago. $3,000, undocumented but sent through traceable transfers. Meant for a short-term fix that turned into a black hole. I never mentioned it after, but now, I wanted it back. My lawyer said if I gave them a written warning and they ignored it, we could proceed. That night I typed it all up. No threats. No drama. Just facts, dates, and an amount. I sent it in a tracked envelope addressed to them both. And then I sat back and waited. They thought the canceled draft was the end of the storm. They had no idea. The envelope landed on their doorstep January 14th. I tracked it down to the minute. Signed by my dad. I imagined him opening it in the hallway, flipping through the typed letter, then seeing his own name and the amount he thought I'd forgotten. $3,000. It was all laid out clearly. The dates. The transfer receipts. The intent. A formal warning that I expected repayment within 14 days or I'd pursue legal action. 3 days of silence. Then the noise started again, just not from them. It was Uncle Louis who called first. Out of nowhere. I hadn't spoken to him in almost a year, but his name flashed on my screen like he'd been waiting for the right moment to jump in. I picked up. He shook the whole tree, Jade. Your dad's losing it. I didn't say anything. I just let him talk. Apparently my father had been calling around in full panic mode trying to borrow money. He told Louis it was an urgent situation and danced around the real reason like always. But Louis isn't an idiot. He said my dad asked for $3,000. Same exact number. He didn't lend it. Instead he told me something I didn't know. They once borrowed from my aunt, his wife, for what was supposed to be a short-term fix. A couple grand. Promised to pay her back after a job bonus came through. The bonus came. The debt stayed. Louis said it took nearly a year and multiple family arguments to get the money back, and even then it came in scraps, in excuses. They've done this to all of us. For years. He just finally cut the cord. It hit me then. I'd spent most of my adult life thinking I was the only one they leaned on. But the truth was they'd built a whole ecosystem of quiet manipulation, bouncing from one family member to another, promising returns and never delivering. I wasn't special. I was just next. That same night, Rachel texted me a screenshot. Our mom had messaged her a guilt-soaked paragraph. You girls have no idea what you've done. Your father is sick over this. You're making things worse for everyone. If this is how you want to treat family, then go ahead, destroy everything. No acknowledgement of what they owed. No admission. Just the usual flip. They were the victims, we were the villains. We still didn't reply. Then on January 18th, a plain envelope showed up at my apartment. No return address. Inside, a check for exactly $3,000. Signed by my dad. No note. No apology. Just the money. Like it would fix anything. It would have ended there, except it didn't. That same weekend, Grandma Ruth called. My dad's mother. She almost never gets involved in anything. She's quiet, polite, old school. She didn't even take sides when my parents skipped my college graduation to go on vacation. But this time was different. She asked me to meet her at a diner near her house. She didn't start with small talk. She just looked me straight in the eye. Your father told me what happened. I told him he should be ashamed. I didn't expect that. Then she pulled out her own envelope. Inside were photocopies of old receipts and handwritten notes. IOUs. Some dated back more than 25 years. Small loans, large ones, all with promises my parents never kept. She'd saved everything, tucked them away in a drawer like she was waiting for the day someone else would finally say enough. I admired your silence for years, she said. But I admire your strength more. I sat there with that envelope in my hands, feeling something shift. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was bigger than me. I was untangling years of silence that others had learned to live with. And still, my parents weren't done. Because the next morning I got a call from someone I never thought would get involved. My dad's brother Alan from Chicago. We barely talk. But he left me a voicemail. Just got off the phone with your dad. He's saying a lot of things. But I'd rather hear your side first. They were spreading it now. Building a whole narrative. Pulling in people from outside the fallout zone. Trying to rewrite history before the dust even settled. But I wasn't the same Jade they knew last year. I didn't just have my side of the story. I had documents, receipts, screenshots, and people on my side now. This time they wouldn't get away with anything. By the time Uncle Alan called me, I already knew what was happening. My parents had gone full scorched earth. They weren't just trying to paint me as ungrateful. They were rewriting the whole story, reaching out to relatives we hadn't spoken to in years, carefully curating a version of events where Rachel and I had launched an unprovoked attack on them out of nowhere. But here's the twist they didn't expect. No one really bought it. Not anymore. I didn't even need to defend myself to Uncle Alan. He barely let me speak before he said, I believe you. They pulled this on me once too back in '09. It was small, but I remember. That was the third person in 2 weeks to confess they'd been burned by my parents. Quietly, without ever telling anyone. It was like a string of falling dominoes. Once I knocked over the first one, everyone else realized they'd been standing too long pretending nothing was wrong. And then something truly unexpected happened. My parents tried to throw a family gathering. I'm not kidding. Out of nowhere, an invitation email went out. A casual get-together at their house the following weekend. They framed it as a chance to reconnect, to talk things out, to move forward as a united family. A few of our more diplomatic relatives responded, saying they'd stop by. Most ignored it. But Rachel and I, we knew what it really was. Damage control. They wanted to get everyone under one roof before the story spiraled beyond their reach. I didn't plan to go. But Rachel had a better idea. Let's send someone else. She reached out to Aunt Helena, the quiet one, never involved in drama but always paying attention. We asked her to go not as a spy but as an observer. He agreed, half curious, half concerned. She said she'd just listen, nothing more. The gathering took place on a cold Saturday afternoon. Less than half the family showed up. According to Helena, the kitchen was still unfinished. Drywall exposed, tools scattered. The check I got had clearly drained them. My dad was red-faced and pacing. My mom looked exhausted. Then they started talking. They spun a beautiful story. Said I'd blindsided them. That I'd always been bitter. That I'd demanded money out of nowhere and threatened them when they refused. They said Rachel was easily influenced and caught in the crossfire. They even hinted that I was possibly unstable, that I'd been going through something, and they were trying to protect me. And that's when Helena stood up. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just calm, honest. She asked one question. If Jade was so unstable, why'd you trust her with your finances for a year and a half? Silence. Then she dropped the next part. She told everyone she'd seen the proof. That I hadn't threatened anyone. That what I'd done was put an end to a pattern. And that if anything, I should have done it sooner. Some of the guests left early after that. Others stayed, but it wasn't to support my parents. Helena called us that night to tell us what happened. He sounded shaken. Not because of any confrontation, there hadn't been one. But because, as she put it, your parents didn't even try to deny it. They just looked cornered. The fallout came fast. A few relatives who had been defending them quietly started backing off. Group chats went quiet. Suddenly, my parents weren't the victims anymore. They were the ones people started warning each other about. Then, the final crack in their perfect mask. Rachel got a message from a family friend, someone close to our mom. It was a screenshot of a Facebook post. My mom had written this long, self-pitying update about losing a daughter to lies, and how pride and money ruin blood. She turned the comments off. She never mentioned my name. But everyone knew. It backfired instantly. One of the top comments was from someone I hadn't seen in years. An old family friend who used to babysit me when I was little. Sometimes it's not the kids that change. Sometimes it's the parents that never did. That post got screenshotted and passed around more times than I can count. People stopped texting me to ask what happened. They already knew. Or they'd seen enough to stop asking. What my parents didn't realize was that in trying to make me the villain, they finally exposed themselves. And at that point, even I didn't have to say anything anymore. After the Facebook post imploded, things went quiet. Too quiet. For 2 full weeks, my parents disappeared from every group chat. No calls. No emails. No new messages to Rachel or me. It felt like the silence before something big. Like they were regrouping, waiting for the dust to settle so they could try a new angle. I wasn't planning to move forward legally. I had my money back. I had the truth out there. I had no desire to drag this through court, unless they pushed again. But then, just when I thought the mess might settle on its own, something came in the mail. A letter. Handwritten. Shaky script. No return address, but I recognized the penmanship immediately. It was from my mom. She didn't apologize. She didn't even acknowledge what they'd done. Instead, she wrote about how the family was crumbling, how everyone was turning on them, and how they hoped I was proud of myself. She ended it with a weirdly cryptic line. "You win. We'll figure things out on our own now." It should have felt like closure. But it didn't. Because 5 days later, Rachel got a notification from her old PayPal account. One she hadn't used in years. A transaction request from my dad. For $3,000. We couldn't believe it. After everything, after repaying me, after lying to everyone, after pretending like I'd robbed them, they were now asking Rachel for the exact same amount they owed me. Like nothing had happened. That was it. That was the moment I knew they'd never change. Not unless someone made them. They weren't sorry. They were broke, embarrassed, and still trying to pull the same levers. I made the call that afternoon. My lawyer had already drawn up the documents weeks ago. A formal complaint for harassment and financial misconduct. I hadn't filed them yet. But now I gave him the green light. This wasn't about the money anymore. This was about consequences. But here's where it turned again. While we were preparing everything, someone else made a move we didn't expect. Rachel's boyfriend Drew, who'd mostly stayed out of it all, told us he'd gotten a message from a mutual friend of my parents. Not a relative, someone they used to go to church with. She said my parents had been quietly asking around for money again, only this time they were using Rachel's name, telling people she was struggling, that they needed help getting her back on track. One of the people they approached was an old family acquaintance, who happened to now work in financial fraud prevention for a local credit union. She flagged it. That's how my parents landed on an internal review list for suspicious behavior. Apparently, they'd opened a new line of credit recently under a joint intention, and the story they gave the bank raised red flags. Rachel got a call from the credit union 2 days later. They asked her to confirm whether she'd been part of a recent credit application with her parents. She hadn't. That was fraud. And now it wasn't just our lawyer involved. It was theirs. Everything unraveled fast after that. The financial review opened more questions. Someone, we still don't know who, submitted a formal complaint about their borrowing practices to a local agency that monitors predatory financial behavior within families. It's not criminal, but it is enough to get flagged for audits. I stayed out of that part. I didn't need to add fuel. I just watched it burn from a distance. And then, without warning, it happened. My parents sent me a second check. $3,000 again. No note. Nothing. It made no sense at first, until I realized what it was. They were trying to repay Rachel through me. As if that would cancel everything. As if we'd call off the legal steps if they threw money at the problem again. But we didn't cash it. Instead, we had it formally returned through our attorney, along with a letter that spelled it out in black and white. Do not contact us again. Do not use our names to borrow, negotiate, or manipulate. Do not involve us in your finances. This is your final warning. We haven't heard from them since. But the thing is, they lost more than our help. The fallout from their desperate tactics left them isolated. No one's taking their calls anymore. Family who used to defend them are politely ignoring them now. The kitchen's still unfinished, the loan's still active, and the only thing they have left is each other. And I don't think that's the comfort they thought it would be. They never responded to the final letter. No apology. No angry calls. No attempt to explain themselves. Just silence. Like the kind that settles in when even the most stubborn people realize they've finally run out of angles. Weeks passed. Then a month. Then another. Rachel and I talked less about them. It wasn't a conscious choice. We just moved on. The drama stopped taking up space in our heads. There were no more late-night texts, no bank alerts, no tangled webs of half-truths to unravel. We were free in a way we hadn't even realized we weren't before. And then one random Thursday afternoon I got a letter. Typed, folded neatly, no return address again, but the stamp was local. It was from my dad. It was short. 2 paragraphs. Not quite an apology, but something that hovered around the edge of it. He wrote that they were reviewing their choices and trying to get back on track. That they knew things had gone too far. That they were stepping away from all family interactions for the foreseeable future. The last line read, We understand now that you are not the same girl we raised. He meant it as a parting jab, I think. Like I'd changed for the worse. But he was right, I wasn't the same. A few days later, I boxed up the last reminder of them from my apartment. An old photo album my mom had given me years ago, one of those for when we're gone someday things. I didn't burn it or trash it. I just dropped it off at a storage unit and left it there. Whatever was still sentimental didn't need to live in my home. But before I did that, I did one last thing. I printed a photo, not of them but of Rachel and me at the diner with Grandma Ruth, the day she told us she was proud of us. I framed it, put it on my bookshelf. That was my version of closing the chapter. Not with anger. Not with revenge. Just with truth and the people who actually deserved a place in my life. Rachel told me something that stuck a few weeks later. We were walking past the house our parents still lived in. Paint peeling, yard overgrown, no renovations in sight. It looked abandoned even though it wasn't. He said, they didn't just lose us. They lost the illusion that they were untouchable. And that was it. That was the real win. They could lie, spin, manipulate, borrow, twist. But it didn't work anymore. No one was listening. No one was rescuing them. They had to sit with what they created. Their choices, their debt, their silence. We moved on. They stayed behind. And if they ever try to come back, they'll find the door locked and a very different version of me standing on the other side. This time I won't be smiling. I'll be gone.